YouTube, how's it going? The Goat House is back with 1 week to go in the regular season, here with my updated NFL power rankings. So one more week of that regular season content, then after that we get into our playoff content. I'm excited, so hopefully you can join us. Like, subscribe to notification sound, follow us on Twitter, links pinned in the comments for that, and our sponsors, Liquid IV, GLD Shop. Let's go on to the power rankings. Panthers, I thought they were getting a little bit better, but then they go play the Jags without Trevor Lawrence. Thought they would have a shot, but nope, they dropped 0 points, and it was a brutal outing for them. So back to how they've been this year, the worst team in football. So they're at 32. Commanders, it was a small portion of this game where it was like, all right, maybe they're putting up a fight with the Niners, but things have definitely gone south as the year has gone on for the Commanders, so they are at 31 still. Chargers down a spot. Not an exciting game against Denver. Low scoring. Defense played all right, but ended up moving down. Patriots end up moving down a spot. A lot of turnovers. Somewhat still in that game despite all the turnovers, but a sloppy one for the Patriots. Titans, this game was over pretty quick against the Texans. Brutal outing, especially for the offensive line. Levis hurt again. He's got to see pressure a little bit, but a little bit better. But offensive line's been brutal. They're down a spot to 28. The Giants down. They again another team that put up a fight. They put up a fight with the Rams. They had an opportunity to win this game. Tyrod Taylor had a big long run to get them in field goal range, or close at least. And they get on the ball and spike it. I thought that was a very, very, very questionable decision. You waste a play. You stop the clock for the Rams in case they were going to get the ball back. Next play was a negative yard run, and you only had one more play left to try to get it because you spiked the ball. They were in too much of a hurry. There was still over 40 seconds left. So I thought that was very questionable. So other than that, they played well enough to stick with one of the hotter teams in football, the Rams, but they're down a spot. Jets got beat up by the Browns on Thursday night. They're down a spot. Mainly, these teams are down. Well, some of these teams are down a spot because they're bad. Some teams mainly just moved down because they lost, and the Cardinals were impressive enough to move up. A really good comeback. Kyler Murray had a bad interception that ended up going for 6. After that, he played very well. James Conner played very well. Dortch, Michael Wilson, he had a touchdown, a nice route on a touchdown. All these guys standing out, and they're able to find a way to win against the Eagles. I know the Eagles are struggling. Maybe they're not as good as their record, but the Eagles are still a pretty good team. So the Cardinals go up 5 spots to number 25. On to the next group of teams. Extremely disappointing outing from the Vikings on Sunday Night Football at home against the Packers. They go with the rookie quarterback, and that was a questionable decision. But I guess you want to see how he is, but they got to win 2 games, and they're actually in the playoff. They controlled their own destiny starting in this game. So questionable decision there, and Jaron Hall was pretty bad. That dug themselves a hole. The defense was off. They ran a lot more man coverage, way more than they normally do. They've mainly been a zone blitz team. In this game, they were a man blitz team. Given how well they played against Love last time, it was an odd decision across the board. Impossible to believe that they did not want to win, because to win 2 games you're in the playoffs, but the decisions almost look like that. I don't think that's how bad the decisions were. I'm not saying that was the case, that they purposely did it, but that's how bad some of those decisions were. So brutal outing. Falcons, bad outing for them. I was in what they like to call bear weather in Chicago, and things weren't going well from the start. Missed kicks, but still, you got to be able to compete in that type of weather. This type of year, football weather, and they got outplayed by quite a bit. The defense was constantly on the field, but I thought they gave up more than I expected. So this is a disappointing outing for the Atlanta Falcons. Down 5 spots, number 23. See what happens with Arthur Smith after this. Bears up 2 spots. Impressive outing. They've been a much improved team in the second half of the year. Wish they could close out some games a little bit better, but they've been pulling them out a little bit. The Cardinals game, let the Cardinals come back. They beat them, and then they hang on to this one against the Falcons. But they've definitely been playing better. The defense has, I'd say in the second half of the year, one of the better defenses in football. So they're up 2 spots to number 22. 21, the Raiders are going down 2 spots. They've been playing better as well, but lose to the Colts here. Other teams kind of making their way up. So they're down 2 spots, number 21. 20, the Broncos up a spot. Those 2 teams will face each other in the final week here. 20 versus 21, Broncos versus Raiders. in Week 18. Number 19, the Saints had a good win against the Bucs. I mean, they had control of this game from the start. They played better than what the score showed as well. They won by, it felt like, more than what the score showed, if that makes sense. So kind of a must-win game to stay alive. And they did it, so they were impressive. So they're going to go up 4 spots to number 19 here. So I was impressed with them. Tough outing against the Rams last week. It's the Rams. The week before, they played very well against the Giants. So overall, maybe the Saints are playing better football recently. So we'll see what happens in this final week as they have a shot to try to get in here. Packers up 2 spots. A great outing against the Vikings on Sunday Night Football. Thought about moving them up more because how good of an outing that was. The defense was better. Offense was great against the defense they struggled with the last time they played. Still, it's one game. Don't want to have one game determine a lot here, but they will go up 2 spots because of that game. But last week against the Panthers, they did pull it off, but the defense was really bad. The defense has been bad. They've been losing some games, so I didn't want to get too carried away. They almost did, but up 2 spots after an impressive game. And they actually control their own destiny now. They'll play the Bears, who are playing better football. It'll be in Lambeau, so that's actually a huge game. 17, the Bengals down 3 spots. I mean, they played well through a portion of this Chiefs game. It felt like they were going to win. That short yardage play, fourth and short, 1 or less, inside the 10-yard line or around that range in the red zone. Towards the end of this game, like if they got that, I feel like the Bengals win this game, even though the Chiefs, after that point, they went and got a field goal, and they controlled this game. They're getting constant pressure. They were moving the ball easier. Rashee Rice gets that big play. Pacheco was going crazy. So it did feel like the Chiefs in the end, kind of won easy. It was a big play by Willie Gay, by the way, on that stop. But if the Bengals get that, I think they win that game. So it was actually that close, maybe closer than you think. They're down 3 spots, 17, though. Tough. Last 2 weeks for the Cincinnati Bengals as they were fighting to try to stay in the playoffs. 16, Seattle Seahawks go down to the Steelers. That was a tough one, too. I mean, they put up a fight. They were in it, sort of at the end, but, you think the defense could play better than that, so it was kind of a disappointing outing, for them. Questionable decision at the end, I noticed live. They kick a field goal to go down by 7 and stay alive. Understand that. Either they caught a big-time break that there was 2:01, 1 second over 2 minutes on the clock still when they had 2 timeouts. So it's like, okay, kick it deep, kick it out of the end zone, which will not run the clock. So the Steelers have to run a play. Then it's a 2-minute warning. Then they have to run 2 more plays, and you call those timeouts, the 2 timeouts that you have. Instead, they kick an onside kick, which has to be recovered, rolls a second, 2-minute warning. So you don't have that timeout from that anymore. And they lose the game, basically. So I thought that was a very, very questionable decision. I remember when they got the field goal, I was like, man, they caught a big break. There's 2:01 left. That's huge. And then, no, they took that away. That huge part, moment kind of got taken away by themselves. So not that decided the game or anything, that just something extra that I noticed. I don't know if anybody else noticed it. They did get outplayed by the Steelers. They struggled with Najee Harris, the Steelers receivers. So, yeah, it was a tough outing. They're down 4 spots, and, man, so now the Packers are ahead of them, actually, in terms of if you're going off straight playoff standings. Of course, if I made my power rankings off playoff standings, or the actual standings, then there would be no point to the power rankings. And the Seahawks have shown that they're slightly a better team, but for the fact that they're under them right now, it is, you can knock the Seahawks for that. So, but I know that, talent-wise, and what they're capable of, they are a top 7 team in the NFC, but because of this game, that they may not get in. So we'll see what happens next week. Steelers up 2 spots, really good outing against the Seahawks. That's 2 in a row. They look pretty solid. So they're kind of making their way up here, much better than the few weeks before. They really messed up playing Trubisky, or bringing Trubisky back even, or extending him. Never sure what they saw ever, so with that. So they're probably a little upset about that because Mason Rudolph's playing very good. The receivers are playing much better, and it kind of just picks up the morale of the team, and the whole team plays better. But they'll have a shot. There might be an AFC team or two, or probably one, or two that win 10 games and don't get in. So pretty crazy. But the Ravens clinched that 1 spot. and the Steelers will play them on Saturday. The first game on Saturday. So will the Ravens play their backups? They're still tough with their backups, but that's interesting too. So we'll see what happens. Bucks, disappointing outing, down 3 spots. They were one of the hotter teams of football and kind of laid the egg against the Saints. I mean, what if? I don't think this is the case, because why would you let it come down to the last week? But what if they're thinking ahead to playoffs and they do want to save some things? That happens, but I don't know if it happened in this case, because you're making it very risky. It's going to come to have to win against the Panthers now. It is the Panthers, but maybe they're looking ahead, seeing that they're playing the Panthers, and it is hard to beat a team twice. So maybe it was just that type of situation, like overthinking things and a little bit. Maybe we'll go with that a little bit, but it was still, they got outplayed completely. It was a rough outing, especially compared to the last few weeks. They're down 3 spots, number 14. They got to go take care of business against the Panthers, which it wasn't like overly a super easy victory last time they played the Panthers, which wasn't that long ago, but they did sort of have control. So we'll see what happens there. Colts are up 3 spots. It's tough, too, because the Falcons outing a week ago was so bad, and the Falcons are struggling, too. I mean, look what they did against the Bears. So the Colts are capable of that. Like, they're capable of looking really, really bad. And they haven't really been playing the best teams on the planet. So it is tough to move them up 3 spots, but a good outing against a tough team against the Raiders, and it was a must-win. Like, a lot of pressure in that game, and they find a way to win. I like the way they started. I like the clutch plays they made. Defense played a little better than expected, from in my opinion. Not that I thought they were going to get dominated, anything close to that. I did pick the Colts to win, but overall, solid outing. Bucks, Seahawks losing, Bengals losing. The Colts move up to number 13. They'll play the Texans. We'll talk about the Texans in a little bit. Saturday night. That's a mass. That's the second biggest game, I would say. The Sunday night game between the Bills and the Dolphins is the biggest game. Jags up 3 spots. They look good. I mean, the Panthers are the Panthers, but they've been playing better. The defense has been solid, but the Jags did enough on both. Obviously on both sides, but obviously on defense they held them to 0. So, it was weird without Lawrence, but they're definitely better with Lawrence. I guess not. Technically, they haven't been looking at that game against before, but they are better with Lawrence. So now it's an interesting situation with the AFC South, but they're back on the right track. That was a must-win game. They got the job done in dominating fashion. Texans up 2 spots, another dominating fashion. The game was over instantly. Great outing from the offense and an even better outing for the defense. So there's your AFC South teams. The Jags are obviously on top with those tiebreakers. I think, this year, who's played better? You probably can argue any of them. I think more so on the entire year, you're probably arguing the Texans or the Jags. The Jags are in front. I like, you take what the Texans have done this year. They've been pretty consistent. They started a little slow. They started like that, new team, young team. I feel like what has been presented on the field and what's been consistent, especially, what the recent things matter too. So the recent things we've seen from their starters and the recent game, I almost, I give them the edge right now, but it's funny how that worked, how the AFC South teams, besides the Titans, are 11, 12, 13, and a lot will be decided this week here. So I thought that was very interesting that those teams are right in a row and not much splitting them up. Again, we're not, record matters. This isn't a record rankings though. That would be lame. It's a lot of it's eye test and how they're currently playing more than anything. So there you have it. Let's see if one of those teams can. The Texans play the Colts. I mean, that 11 versus 13, it's going to be absolutely huge. Saturday Night Football. The Colts got them pretty good the first time. That was very early in the season. This is going to be fun. That's going to be a fun game. It's a 50-50 game in my opinion, so we will see. On to the top 10. Eagles go down 5 spots, and it was tough to move the Eagles down that many spots, but you lose to the Cardinals, you blow a comeback. The play calling was bad. They should have ran the ball more. Just lack of execution. Defensively, it's bad. It's been bad. That's the thing. The Eagles' defense has been bad pretty much all year. Now the offense is definitely nowhere near bad. Don't get me wrong, but it's starting to go south a little bit. Remember, they scored a pick 6, and that doesn't change. The defense is still bad. They scored a wild pick 6 in this game. It was a freebie from Kyler Murray. So take that, factor that in, the offense didn't do a whole lot, and they could not execute in big moments. So it's a poor outing, and they've lost, how many of their last, 4 or 5 games too. So really struggling recently, and they just don't look like. I still view their offense as explosive and good, but they just don't look like a good football team right now. Overall, heading into the playoffs, I'll still view them as a good football team, but this is where they belong recently, based off recently what's going on right now. Chiefs are going to stay put. Thought about moving up one, but I would have had to move a team down that one, which I definitely could do, but it just didn't happen. This team that is next has been, even though questionable win, but they've been heating up. They've been playing really good football recently. But the Chiefs, a little scary. I mean, they clutched up in this game. That the 4th down stop, I think it was mainly Willie Gay in there. Like, if they don't get that stop, I think the Bengals win that game. So there was still a little sloppiness, and there's a little bit of a scare. What's Kelsey? Where's Kelsey at? Like, those situations. Pacheco had a really good game. They were clutch in the end. Rashee Rice has been good, but still need to play better football for Chiefs standards. Rams at number 8. They've been playing great football. This game was a little sketchy. They need to close out games better because they're capable of much more at the end. But McVay tends to, we see into Super Bowl year too. Like, he really likes to save stuff for the playoffs. They really held back. They saved stuff, but they're a little more comfortable that year, I think. So, but maybe they were kind of putting their foot on the brakes too hard there. Why, maybe they were fortunate. They were fortunate the Giants spiked that football and then missed the kick. It was a far kick, so it was a little sketchy, but they're explosive. They have multiple ways to win. They got good playmakers everywhere. They're solid on both sides of the ball, but the defense needs to be a little bit better than it was in this game. They've been playing really good football, so they have clinched the playoff spot. They are number 8. They remain at 8. Browns up 3 spots. I mean, the Browns are playing good. They're playing good football. They're another team that can win on both sides of the ball. They can win in multiple ways. They can win with the pass, on the ground, making plays on defense. Seems like a well-coached team. So Stefanski, started good as a rookie coach. A lot of rookie coaches do. Then kind of went downhill. I think he adjusted. I know he adjusted things this year. He added to the playbook, mainly to fit Deshaun Watson a little bit more. And that kind of helped in the long run. But the obstacles that was kind of thrown at him with the injuries, and what they've done. So they're pretty damn good across the board. They're explosive. They can make big time plays. So they got a lot of wins. They're going to be in the playoffs. So they're up 3 spots, number 7. Lions are going to stay put. Yeah, questionable game, I suppose. I hate when the good games kind of end in not so good of a way, a weird way. The defense stepped up. I know the Cowboys got a lot of yards, but the defense stepped up way more than expected in this game. Offense moved the ball. They could execute a little bit. I do question some decision-making from the Lions, playing for 4th down, when they go for it on 4th down, when they don't, when they mainly do. Decision-making like that. 2-point conversion was crazy. They get it. It's such a tough situation because we don't know 100. People on Twitter think they know 100%, but we don't know 100%, I guess, what was said. It looks likely that the ref just misunderstood. It looked like he was looking at Skipper. Well, Dan Campbell told, which is crazy, to look out for this play during this game. So the ref was ready for it, and I think he was ready for it. He saw Skipper coming, and he's like, okay, that's the guy. So, and then meanwhile, Penei Sewell, for some reason, was standing in between the ref and Taylor Decker as he was coming in. So I think it could easily create some confusion. I think the offensive lineman needed to go up and tell him, hey, did you get this? But if the ref did, I'm sure the Lions players try to report that correctly. So it's really the ref just misunderstood, so you could put it on him. But at the same time, if that touchdown stands, it's also not right because the defense is made aware who's eligible, who's not. So the Cowboys did not think he was eligible because of the ref as well. So the ref just screwed the whole thing up, in general. I don't think the Lions should have went for 2 after that point, especially when they got backed up. That was an emotional decision to go for 2 there. That didn't end up mattering, but they went for 2 on the next one. That didn't matter. Tough one. They're going to stay put. I thought they would do more on offense. They did at the very end, I guess. Goff was a little off. He had some throws on the inside. Similar one that was intercepted as the one at the very end on that last 2-point conversion. But they're going to stay put at number 6. And the Cowboys were 1 behind them, so they're going to go ahead. They did win the game. I do think the Cowboys did outplay them. If the Lions won at the end, and many people think they should have won, and I'm not going to disagree, or I'm not going to make a statement on that. They very well could have. It still feels like the Cowboys slightly outplayed the Lions in that game. So I feel like if the Cowboys got a gift, which you could argue maybe they did, and the Lions outplayed them, it'd be tough for me to move these teams around possibly. The Cowboys still won the game, so I still would probably have done this. But I can say while watching that game that I believe the Cowboys slightly outplayed the Lions, and they got the W. Whether you think it was like 100% legitimate or not doesn't really matter. So they're up 2 spots, number 5. They got to put that game away a little bit better, though. Number 4, the Dolphins are on a spot. They get obliterated, but best team in football they play, getting beat up throughout this game. I know the Ravens were beat up, too. The way the Dolphins started was like, okay, could the Dolphins win this game? Like, Kyle Hamilton's not out there. Dolphins are playing good. They're moving the ball better than expected, easier than expected. They could win this game. But as soon as Tyreek Hill dropped that touchdown, everything probably would have happened anyways, but that's what it felt like. Kind of like sucked the energy out of them, and the Ravens really got going. Both teams missing guys. The Dolphins ended up getting really beat up, and they didn't have Mostert or Waddle going in this game, so that's huge. But down a spot, they did beat the Cowboys a week ago, so they're still holding on to that as a valuable win there. Tough one. Number 3, the Bills go up a spot. It wasn't the prettiest performance, I guess, only because they created so many turnovers and they didn't win by a whole lot. It was like they kind of kept them close, but they also created a bunch of turnovers and kind of were in the. I think if the Patriots would have kind of got even closer, I think the Bills would have pulled away. I do think they're looking ahead to that Dolphins game. I do think they're trying to save a little bit because they had control of that game and the defense had it. They were making turnovers, so I actually don't look at it like that way like some people may. Bills been playing really good football. Once it was that kind of after they kind of got screwed in the Eagles game, and they're like, okay, I think they went into that game like we got to win football games. This is it. And after that game, and they were kind of added more of like a pissed off element, and I think they really clicked into. They've been playing really good football overall. The Chargers game, I guess, wasn't that great. And Sunday Night Football, Week 18, number 3, the Buffalo Bills versus the current leader, the Miami in the AFC, is the Miami Dolphins. It's going to be huge. It's going to be a crazy, crazy game. Unfortunately, there is some injuries, a lot for the Dolphins. I know the Bills have been missing some key guys. I think Matt Milano stands out a lot of this year, which kind of got them in a hole. But Dolphins it's kind of more fresh injuries, which is really, really tough. So it's going to be a huge game. It's going to be epic. So excited for that one. The Niners are going to stay at number 2. Maybe a slight scare, not really a scare. You kind of knew the Niners would be okay against Commanders, but it was like, all right, what's going on here? McCaffrey did get hurt too, but it looks like he's going to be okay, playing it safe. And the Ravens, just dominance. Lamar's got to win that MVP. The Ravens are the team of the regular season. Can they continue that into the playoffs? Can they get a little healthier here? But the good thing is that they can rest their guys this next week, and they have that week 1 of the wild card round bye, I should say. I always kind of question like resting starters because you get extra rusty. But if you're the Ravens with your injury history and your current injuries, you rest your starters next week. Let the other, if you want to let them get like a quarter, that's fine too. You just get ready for the playoffs and try to gather as much intel on teams as you can and just see if you can be as good in the playoffs as you are in the regular season. So easily the best team. Like I don't think you can debate like anyone's better right now. If you have a different prediction for the playoff Super Bowl, that's a different story. And Lamar, there's other guys that should be talked about, like given the credit more for like the MVP, but more than they are. Like, why isn't a CeeDee Lamb even like mentioned about it? I think about that. But Lamar Jackson's got to be the MVP. He's the heavy favorite for a reason. So Lamar and the Ravens sitting at the top of the NFL, sitting pretty. Niners also got that 1 seed in the NFC, so they can rest next week. So next week's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be a lot of fun. We'll talk about different scenarios during the week, perhaps, and we have some weekly content, and we're going to be getting ready for the playoffs. So hopefully you can join us for all that content. Like, subscribe to notifications on. Make sure you follow us on Twitter. Links pinned in the comments for social media. And then sponsors, Liquid IV, it's an extra percentage off for the holidays. And GLD Shop, we have a code GOAT for that as well. So check it out. It's going to do it. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.